So let's have a look at this next story here. I love this article by Camilla Palu, who's a news editor. She writes, a bizarre dispute has erupted in Perth's north over a smell of one neighbour's food. Burns Beach resident Kylie claims that she received a letter from the vegan neighbour asking her to close her windows when she cooks to stop the sickening aroma from travelling next door. The handwritten note with the words, "Please take serious," written on the envelope was submitted to the Hey Perth Facebook page and reads, "Hello neighbour, could you please shut your side window when cooking please? My family are vegan, we only eat plant-based foods and the smell of the meat you cook makes us feel sick and upset. We would appreciate your understanding." The reason why I like this story here is because it brings into question social media and the impact that social media has had on society, and we'll talk about this in a moment. The letter was signed from Sarah, Wayne and the kids, and the post quickly attracted almost 350 comments from amused locals. Somebody wrote, "Should definitely shut the window and then cook on the barbecue right next to the fence," one wrote. Another one said, "Time for a huge barbecue. Whole street is invited," another said. And then thirdly, "Jesus, what is the world coming to when you can't cook a steak in your own kitchen?" Someone else wrote, while several describing the vegan neighbour as entitled. So let's have a talk about this story here and let's see what we're really faced with. Well, as we just read, it is as simple as an aggressive or passive-aggressive little note in a letterbox complaining about the smell of meat from your kitchen to trolls that are flooding your feed because you've got a different opinion. It feels as if though society is suddenly consumed by anger, fury, and violence. But what's to blame? What is to blame for all this outpouring of aggression? I mean, it could be something like a human rights abuse or an offensive joke. It doesn't matter so long as it delivers a shot of righteous anger. We see rage and we meet it with our own, always wanting more. Cycles of violence are not always unproductive. They take in civil rights, unions, and suffragette movements. All social movements of consequence start with unrest, whether it's in the form of a strike action, protest, or riot. Now, David Andress, and I think I've got a photo of David here. Let me just have a quick look. Here he is, David Andress from the University of Portsmouth and the author of Cultural Dementia writes this: "If everything is a wave and the waves just happen, what is there to discover? Everything has to come back to economics, unless you're rich." Now, economics is about scarcity and insecurity, and it turns very quickly into anger and scapegoating. He also goes on to say, "As a historian and a teacher, I'm always trying to get people to understand that societies in general are violent. People like you and me have wanted societies to be less violent, and we have worked at that. And the result? We've never actually succeeded. We've all managed to persuade people to take their foot off the other person's throat when they feel secure enough. Anger is remarkable not in of itself, but when it becomes so widespread that it feels like the dominant cultural force. Antagonism never goes away. I think for sure anger is more expressed. What you see of it is a consequence of emotional contagion, which I think social media is partly to blame. There's an anger bandwagon effect. Someone expresses it and it drives someone else to express it as well. So psychologically speaking, the important thing is not the emotion, but what you do with it. Whether you vent, process it, or suppress it. We are in an age where the trigger event can be something as trivial as the neighbour who was offended by the smell of bacon. Thanks to social media.